1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. What's happening? What's happening? Is it going? Good Lord, what's happened? I better do an intro. Hello there, my name is Bruce Rain from Breakers Creations, and I do apologise for that. I'm not actually sure when I started streaming. I was here just sort of fixing up all of my cameras and stuff like that, and I was about to press the start streaming button, and it said stop streaming. And I'm like, why would it say stop streaming rather than start streaming? And that was at the point that I realised that I was already streaming. I have no idea how that start button got pressed. It probably bumped it while I was working on these cameras, but anyhow. So I've basically just been working with all the cameras that I have here to make sure they're all working and all that sort of stuff. So thank you to everyone for joining. I will do my normal thing and say hello to people and say hello to Callan, hello to Enzo Fitzhume, hello to Jay from the House of Moth, Apples Anonymous, Tev Rudin, Thomas Armstrong, PC Jeffro, Colin from This Does Not Compute, Kai Robinson is here. Hello, Kai. He probably won't stay for long because it's very late where he is right now. Gibbertronics, Francois Revol, Steve from Mac84, Roger Salter, Chip Aconect, Aconect, I think. Chris Angelis, did I already do Chris? Maybe not. And JLH2011able. And Mystery Margot. And I think that's everyone. I think, no, still going. Joe Williams. Anyhow. And LRK. So anyhow, as I say, my apologies for the little technical difficulties before, but we all are up and running, and we even have, yes we do, Chookcam. So, which of course is, around about probably 30% chickens and 70% pigeons, but that's just how it goes. So there's the little white one. We don't see her too often. She's usually hiding because she's so small. But that's why we have all of this foliage here, so they can get underneath it. So this is... started with the so's already. This is part 2 of my building a Macintosh IIfx live stream. For those who watched the first part, thank you very much. For those who stayed the whole way, that was quite an effort. So well done. Congratulations to you. Buy yourself a cookie. I did all of the back. I'm just going to switch over to the top view camera here. During the live stream, I did all of this back section. The challenges that I faced, and I spoke to Bol about this later on, were that a lot of these components have been moved around, and more importantly, some of the components aren't even here. So there are some on the old board that aren't on the new board, and that's because he did tell me what it was, but I can't remember what it was. There was something that he actually removed entirely, not needed, I guess, and so there are actually a fewer components. How many so's did we get up to last? Did anyone actually keep count? I've got a recording of it. I can always go back and check the recording and count them all, but that would just be very difficult. So got all of these components in place, all of the sort of capacitors and resistors. And then what I also did, I did this the day after. I didn't live stream it. I apologise to everyone for that, but there was a very good reason why I didn't live stream it. I did all of the small passive components from this side as well. And I even chucked on a couple of little diodes and transistors too. The reason why I did this side not live streaming was for two reasons. First of all, I thought it would be really quick, and I'll just quickly get it done, zippity zap, and then all of the passives will be done and will be ready for the next live stream. It wasn't. It did actually take me quite a long time, and I'll explain why in a second. The other was that I felt like, from a storytelling perspective, to have two live streams with me just sticking passive components, I felt like it was going to be a little bit dull. So I thought, well, have all the passives done, and then we can move on to the all of the ICs, all of the surface mount ICs, that sort of thing. Mr. Tech Gadget, hello there. And yep, you definitely get coolness points for watching the whole thing. The other challenges I faced with this top side of the board, there are a couple. First of all, and I will probably speak to Boll about this may have already been resolved, but the pads for the inductors were very small. They're quite a lot smaller than the original pads from the original board. It would be nice if they were a bit bigger. It would definitely make getting those little inductors, these little guys here, getting these onto the board, it would make it a little bit easier. The other problem I had was that on these two boards that I have as donors, there were quite a few components that were heavily corroded here around the battery area, and there were also some missing components. So I ended up having to put some of my own new components in there. I have one of these little things that you just buy on AliExpress or wherever, and these are actually, I think these are 1206s, which is the size of the components. If anyone wants to watch my surface mount soldering video, I do go in and explain what all of these sizings mean, but 1206 means it's 0.12 inches by 0.06 inches in size, and I think these are the next size down on this board, but the 1206s fit on there perfectly, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with using 1206s in place. Nate, hello there. And so I bought this on like AliExpress. There's like about, I don't know, 20 components in each one of these little strips, and then there's just a whole bunch of different sizes. And so, oh dear, that came undone. And so that's not good. I'm gonna have to put that all back together again, but I'm not going to do it now. Don't worry. And I was able to then just go in and replace ones because I knew what sizes they were. The corroded ones, I could still see. I could still see what size was written on the package, so I was then able to go in and put a replacement in there. And I got all the components there. And let's move that little guy out of the way. That's from a very different computer. I had to replace one of the diodes. I lost one. I was pulling it off the board, and then I bumped something and just gone. I don't know where it is. It's just disappeared. And so I had to replace that, but I do have replacements of these diodes. They're fairly standard. What else? Yeah, I mean, that's pretty much it from this side. You have that sort of hesitation about have I missed one? Because it's not just a matter of looking at the old board and saying, hey, there are still components left on here. I've missed one. It's not that simple. That I may end up finding I've missed one at a later date, but I've looked over it pretty closely. I dropped this into the ultrasonic cleaner after working on it because I thought it would be good to start afresh without the flux all over it for this first stage or this next stage. So we're all ready to go there. Now there was something, oh that's right. Now what I wanted to do here very quickly is I've got the schematic here. I'm just going to go across to here so you can see the schematic here. And I want to just search for D1 because the interesting thing that has happened here, found on 13 pages. That's not the one we want. Whoopsie. Yeah. So it's the same, it's the name, I'm actually after the diode itself. I can't see for crap here. It's going to be on the SCSI section. Because the thing is, the reason why I'm actually doing this is there is a... this could be anywhere. I'll keep looking. I probably should have had this all queued up ready to go, but I didn't. Okay, so we'll come back to this. When we look at the... Oops. When we look at the old board... K-Mac, hello there. I got your RAM sims. So Will sent me some little RAM sims. What do you call them? Blink RAM sims, something like that. So little 4 megabyte sims. I got 4 of them. He sent them over. So thank you very much for that. I will show them in a video. But they are 4 megabyte 30 pin RAM sims. So they're suitable, say, for an SE30. And they have a little light on them, a little red light and a blue light that indicate read and write. So they will actually flicker based on whether the RAM sim is being read or written. And while that might seem very novelty-ish, there is actually some practical use for that. I mean, if you've got a computer that's just giving you some grief, to be able to see whether it is actually accessing the RAM is quite an important step in the diagnostic process. So thank you very much for that, Will. I really appreciate that. So this here has a diode just there, D1. Now it's one of those little circular surface mount ones. I hate them because when you hit them with hot air, they just go rolling off the board. Mike Wheat, hello there. Hello from Sydney. But on this new board, he's actually, it's not a surface mount pad, it's a through hole, which makes me think that I'm, rather than taking the original component off there, I'm actually better off going to my little pile here from the old Blue Scuzzy construction days. Here's my old Blue Scuzzy construction days. This is the original Blue Scuzzy that actually used the blue pill. I've got all my little headers and stuff here and junk. Is probably better off using one of these little diodes that were used for the Blue Scuzzy. I mean, someone correct me if I'm wrong, but I suspect this is probably the way to go. This is a... Yeah. Where are we? IN 5818. IN 5818 diode. Now, Kai, you tell me what you want to do here. This is your board, but I'm thinking that I will just stick this IN 581, the number I just said, into this here and use it in that spot there. Any 1N4001 or similar. So this one was 1N58018. I've got a whole stack of diodes here actually, so if you've got one that you would rather, what have I got? I'm going to need to change into my glasses that allow me to see little writing. There we go. IN 4007. I've got an IN 4007. I've got IN 4934. There you go. Come on. IN 5819. There, that's a Xena diode. Don't need that. So 4007 is fine. Cool. Let's whack one of those on, shall we? Whack, whack, whack. 4007. I know the 4007 I think is what I use for when I'm converting what do you call it, the Mac Plus, so that it has power, what do you call it, termination power. One of the issues with the Macintosh Plus is even though there is a spot on the board for a diode, it's not populated. And no one really understands why it's not populated. Someone might know at Apple, but it's a very strange thing. If you Mac Plus, off the shelf, does not have termination power. Stick a diode into a little spot on the board, And it does. It's weird. Alright, so I'm going to put this diode on simply because I have it. I'm going against the rules here of doing a through-hole component before I've finished all of the surface mount components, but considering this originally was a surface mount component, that's the justification that I'm giving. Oh, you can tell I've been working on much smaller computer components because I've got my teeny-weeny little tip on there. My soldering iron tip is really starting to get a bit worn. I may even have to change over to a new one while we're working today, but we'll see. Okay, once again, while we're waiting for this to heat up, we will talk about the flux that we're going to be using today, and it is SteriFlux. You will find links in the description for SteriFlux and a discount code. And this is the one that I prefer to use, a SteriASM. Absolutely fantastic flux, very good. And by the way, people who keep contacting me and asking me about the STL file for this plunger, my apologies, I still have not built the new version. I don't like this one. Apart from everything else, it falls out, and it's not meant to fall down. So I'm going to be rebuilding this. I might even try and get that done today or tomorrow, so that I can make that available on the old Thingiverse. I just did that diode mod this week. Yep, it's very important. As I actually have said before, it is our duty to make that mod to every Macintosh Plus that we come across for the good of mankind. Humankind. Okay. Ow. Hot bunnies. Ouchies. Hot diode. Now I'm going to do a little fiddle with the camera view here, and we'll. Where's my cutters? Where's my side cutters gone? Where? Don't know. I don't know. They're one of the most important tools I have in here. Oops, that shouldn't be falling down. Let's put that there. Yeah, it's better. Oh, they're on the floor. It's where I store everything. Right. Head in the camera. There we go. Right, let's snip those off. Alright, let's have a look here. Sol Trabal. Hope all is well done under. Thank you, Sol. 2112ist. Thank you very much. It is Fiends. Fiends. What's so standard about bogs? This is very true. What is so standard about bogs? Bog standard. There we go. Right, so let's have a look at the camera view here, and we'll just see what we can conjure up. I think we're going to want a more zoomy view, but we'll have to just figure it out as we go. I'm figuring I'll probably start up in this region. Maybe try and work systematically. I am missing, I think, this guy, UD16. Kai is going to be sending a replacement for this. I could technically remove one from another board, and I probably will if the one that Kai's sending doesn't arrive in time for testing. But we can maybe at least start with UC17. Can tell from the style of these pads that this is going to be a PLCC chip. The interesting thing about the PLCC chip is it can either be surface mount soldered to a board, or it can go in a socket. And of course that's not really much of an issue these days. You don't really need to socket chips anymore because we can just use, you know, firmware updates to make changes to things. You don't need to pull a chip out and plonk it back in again. So this is UC17, and this looks very much to me like a SCSI chip. It's the AM8530. I think that's the SCSI chip, isn't it? I could be wrong. Regularly am. But anyhow, we'll move it. Should arrive middle of next week latest. Oh, that's pretty good. Apple adopted SCSI for the Plus. IMEGA used a custom 37-pin D-sub for the original Bernoulli drive. When they made a version for Apple, they modified it to use serial. Well, how about that? Okay, yes, the UC17 is still in production. I've never actually needed to get one. I have it's on so many Apple boards that, you know, when I've had donors, I've just always been able to whack it off there. Alright, so I am going to be using fast air out of my hot air station. So for all of the work I was doing with these smaller components, I was running at around about sort of 50% output of the air. So not blowing as hard, but still quite high temperature, 440, something like that. This one is 435 degrees C, and this is at the full strength of the heat. And that's what I'll be using for getting a lot of these components off. Using a bit of flux, particularly on ones that are a little bit corroded, will definitely help that solder melt and get this component off the board. So let's give this a whirl now. I'll need some tweezers, but I've got them hidden over here. Here we are. I do have different views. I've got this top view. I've got a side view here. Wasn't that bright? Might need to sort something out there. And that, so if anyone's sort of like, hey, I want a different view, just let me know. But I think this top view is good for me, and of course the microscope view. Microscope view I'll be using when I'm actually putting these surface mount components on. Helps me to be able to see when the solder is melting. It just makes life a lot easier for me to work. Save UC14, but don't install it on the new board. Use the 2 new ones I send. Oh, okay, hang on. Where's UC14? Yeah, okay. Oh, okay. Because so UC14 and UD16 are the same component. I think that's what you're telling me, aren't you? So what you're saying is that we'll have that way. They'll both be matching. So we'll leave these 2 blank for the moment. And then, yeah, okay. That sounds good. Do you know why this one has hot glue on it? Guy, I'm just curious. There's quite a lot of hot glue all over this one. Uh-oh, fume extractor police. They're going to be calling on me. There we go. You don't ever want to force these when you're heating them with hot air. Even if you feel them start to give, you know, by all means give them a gentle nudge, but not until you can actually feel them move should you then lift them off. I made that mistake once a very, very long time ago where I thought I was all the way through and I went to lift it and I tore a pad. But that was a long, long time ago. The board came that way from Japan, okay. Whole system was another mess, I believe it. I believe it. Reen Reinfeldt, hello there. Right, so let's move him away. One of the things I also have here, and I do apologise, people are going to ask, hey, where do I get one of these? I've had a little bit of trouble actually trying to find the same one to then give people a link. But this is a little vicey type thing that I have here that I can use to hold ICs in place, and that helps me get the underside of them all clean. Because when you're moving a component from board A to board B, you want the bottom to be flush. You don't want little mounds of solder on the bottom of the pins. That sort of makes it quite difficult to put the thing in. So what I can do is I can use this little guy to... I'm going to open it up. This thing's still a little toasty, so I'm just being fairly cautious here as I hold it. Ow, ow, ow. I can pop that there, like that, and then tighten that up. And I've got that chip held in there nice and securely now. That then makes it easier for me to jump across here to the scope. We're going to be doing lots of back and forwards with the scope view here, folks, so I do apologise if things get a little bit difficult with if I forget to change the cameras, which, you know, I've been known to do from time to time. Fume extractor, fume extractor. Now, interesting thing I want to say about fume extractors. I actually have another fume extractor on its way to me. Should arrive maybe next week or something, and I will be doing a product review on it. Fume extractors are an interesting thing because some of them are just obscenely expensive. I was having a look at some fume extractors just the other day, and they're in the thousands of dollars, and they're basically just a great big fan box thingy with a filter and a hose coming out the top. And I just look at it and I think, well, one of them was like $4,000. I mean, where is $4,000 worth in that? But I have a little fume extractor coming that I will be reviewing. The sorts of things I'll be testing it for is, first of all, its ability to move the air. That's what a fume extractor does. Its ability to filter, and how much noise it makes. So that's on its way, and hopefully it will be something that that I can recommend. Take that off the new reloaded board. What? Hang on. Take that off the new reloaded board. Take it off the new... Why? Why should I take it off? It's fine. Okay, so all I'm doing here is just using some solder wick to gently remove any solder on the bottom of these pins. That way, it will sit on the board nice and flush for when I want to attach it onto the new board. And I'll also have a little inspection of these pins to see what they look like from the side. If there's any really noticeable corrosion, I'll probably clean it up a little bit. There we go. And then we can just clean this up with a bit of... You'll scratch it. I won't scratch it. Be very careful. Oh, I think I scratched it. No, I'm just joking. Alright, so I did so again. We're here again. How are these looking? I've got a little bit of corrosion happening here. So I'll probably clean these up a little bit. Yeah, look at that. I don't know, Kai, what do you want me to do? Do you want me to try and hunt down a better looking AM8530 off my one of my donor boards, see if I can find a nicer looking one, because this one does have a little bit of corrosion on it here. And I can clean that up a bit, but I might have a better looking one. Let me have a look. What is it? 8530. I'm just going to memorize that like equivalent series resistance. Nope. Oh god, that one's even worse. Will 53C80 do it? That's on a classic, isn't it? That's really corroded. I'm not going to use that one. That's got nothing on it, so that's of no use to me. What we got here? Oh, this is that 2CI I was mangling the other day. I need that one, so I'm not taking that one. That's way too new. Boop, boop, boop. I'm good at collecting boards with corrosion on them. Wow, that's gross. Oh, this is a nice one. Okay, so I think it's a nice one because there's nothing wrong with this board. Okay, just needs ROM. Oh, and a couple of other chips I've rated for it. This is a board that I've used for building classic reloadeds. That's way too new. It doesn't even have SCSI. What does it? Sorry, folks. I'll be back. Don't you go changing. Looking. That is the wrong size package. So that's no good to me. AM530. This one doesn't look too bad. This one looks pretty good. 85C30 is the serial oh, is it? Okay. 53C80 is a SCSI. AM8530. AM8530. I think we're in business. 8530, that's what we want, isn't it? 8530. Oh, 53C8. Oh, okay, so this is this is not SCSI. This is serial that we're looking at. So that's the chip that is in question here. 8530 is serial, not SCSI. Cool. Does anyone have a Hacko desoldering gun The soldering gun holder that isn't like $80 from Hacko. The piddly little metal stand that comes with it is completely inadequate. Can't really help you there. 8.5. So just going to jump across here to I've got here AM8530H. The old one is AM8530H. So there we go. That's good. And this one is in far better condition. Nowhere near as much corrosion. So let's grab this one. We're right up at the corrosion end of the board, which is sort of why we're having this problem with this chip. As we get further along the board, they're going to get a lot nicer and less corroded, so we won't have this issue of trying to hunt down better looking chips. Got any sockets? Nope, not this size. Bigger ones, but not little sockets for this size. This is being taken off a Quadra 610. I don't know how I managed to get a 610 donor board, but I do have one here. Okay, I'm going to, just to keep everyone happy, I'm going to move the board from underneath. I don't want to cause an incident. I've got something that I use here, if I can just find it. So I'm just going to move this out of the way for a sec. See if I can find this thing that I keep here. So, here it is. Now this is something that I bought at the beauty shop for when I do my nails. And it is for nailing your filing your nails. File nail. 2, remove ridges. Buff and smooth, polish and shine. And I actually find this, hot. I actually find this really good for cleaning things like this up. So Mac356, hello there. And Panopolis, hello there. It is going well, thank you, Panopolis. Now, Panopolis, with a name like that, it makes me think you are Greek. Okay. Jim's Retro Stuff, hello there. Thank you for joining. I am in the process of migrating ICs from the old IIfx board to the new one. We went to go grab the very first one, and it was a little bit corroded. So I grabbed this off one of my donor boards, and I just want to remove any solder from the bottom of these pins, because I want it to sit nice and flush on the board when I transplant it. It's a fictional username, but yes, I was going for Greek. Cool. I actually know, I know someone who, his surname I think is Panagopoulos, something like that. And he is definitely Greek. I actually have quite a few Greek friends because I am in a car club, and the car club is a club for a particular type of car that was very popular with Greek families here in the sort of 70s and 80s. And so we have lots of Greek people in the car club who collect, who have these old cars. Now, I did some quoting the other day. So I should just mention this. I've forgotten your name, and I do apologise, but I did get your email. If you are watching, someone contacted me via email today, yesterday or the day before, saying they were from Australia, and they heard that I am looking for people who might want to do a share in the cost of getting a few of these 2FX reloaded boards done. And so that's good to hear. And I have done a quote, and if I can probably even just get maybe a third person, I'll get 5 boards made, and if I can get even probably a third person, just me, one other, and another, it would make a huge difference to the cost of getting the board done. And to be honest, I've quoted, and it's not that expensive anyway. We're not talking about, you know, like real massive, going to have to save for ages or anything like that. Now I've got to put this chip on. I'm going to start off by getting these pads well covered with flux. I don't want any solder on them at this stage. I want all these things to be sitting flush when I put them in place. These PLCC chips, they have a little dot here for where pin 1 is. So that's pin 1, and then they move in, is it a counterclockwise or a clockwise direction? I can never remember. I'm sure someone else will remember. I think it's counterclockwise. So I think it's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, that way. But I could be wrong. And then, of course, we have this little flattened edge here. And so that's how we find out how to place these on the board. The screen print has 2 things on it for us to identify with. We've got the little flat edge here on the screen print, and we have the dot showing us pin 1. So that allows us. Now, a lot of the time, the dot is on the outside, but Bol has put the dot on the inside. It makes no never mind to me, but it's the first time I've seen that. I have 2 2CI boards with birdseed on the way to me. Yeah, cool. So this is actually the reason why I ended up getting a 2CI reloaded board from Kai, because he got one. I don't know if he bought it or, you know, or was given it or whatever, but then got given one with the birdseed on it. So he had one without the birdseed, and I love putting the birdseed on, so I'm fine with that. Yes, pin 1 edge. There we go. There's edge. Sloped away. So we want to get this positioned on here as best as we can. And I usually do it from, you know, 2 opposing edges. So I'll look through here, try and get this one as lined up as possible, and then come across to this one. It's looking pretty good to me. And then I need to get some solder onto 1 pin. Just 1. No more than 1. No less than 1. And this will move when I do this, so I'm just going to, just like that. Okay. There we go. I've got that on 1 pin. See, that's held on. And that allows me to then swivel this on the other side. So in case I'm not happy with the positioning on this side, which I wasn't, I can then do that and get some solder onto that pin. I think that's not enough solder on there. Get some more solder. There we go. Okay, so now we're held on by a pin there, and we're held on by a pin on the opposite end there, and then I can start soldering like one of these edges. And I'm going to do that with drag soldering. Some people don't like drag soldering. I would be lost without it. So I've got this beveled edge here, so I can get the flat part down flush with the board, and then I can just tuck it into the corner here and run it down there with plenty of solder. Backwards and forwards. The flux is making sure that it doesn't clump. The flux is making sure that it actually only sits on the metal parts and doesn't go anywhere else. I've got a bridge there, but we will be able to clean that up with some flux. Okay, I've just had, so Apple's Anonymous is also interested in a 2FX board. So is Steve, but I'm not sure how we'd actually go with that, getting it shipped to Australia and then getting shipped to America. But maybe that might still work out cheaper. So I'll definitely check that out, Steve. Oh, there is something else I wanted to mention to you, Steve, after your live stream yesterday. Just talking about the little microphone. We both use the same microphone. It's one of these little guys. It's a Rode Wireless Go 2. It has a receiver. You can see the little meter there going up and down as I talk. Not very well though, because I mean, let's go to this view. Yeah, there we go. Here's the microphone, and there's me talking, blah, blah, blah. You see I've got 1 and 2, because it actually has the option for 2 separate receivers. And you can run this in 2 different ways. You can either run it as 2 channels, so left in one channel, right in another channel. That's great for when you're doing interviews, because you can record the 2 microphones as 2 separate channels. You don't have to then, you know, when it comes to mixing the levels, you can just do that all in post-production. But then this has another mode, which I'm using now, which is where we have the audio from both of them. If I were to use both microphones, either one or both of them, they're both coming through both channels, left and right channels, and you set that through pressing these 2 buttons down the bottom here. Now that Steve did manage to sort that out during the live stream yesterday, and that was all good. But there is something I do want to tell you about this. If you are connecting it to your computer via USB, as I am here, which I think you are as well, the gain settings, which you can see I've got mine here set on -24, the gain settings, which you get by pressing this DB button, they make absolutely no difference whatsoever. The gain only affects the audio coming out through the, wherever the thing is, the headphone socket here, or the line out socket. So the gain only affects the analog output. It does not affect the digital output. So if your microphone is a little bit slow, sorry, quiet, not slow, if it's a little bit quiet in your OBS, you cannot raise the volume using this. You'll need to use a gain filter. So if you go to the microphone in your sources, and then you right click on it and you go to filters, you can add a filter called gain, and then you can just ramp that up until you see the levels getting nice and into that orange section of OBS. So just letting you know that, Steve, it's a quick and easy thing to do, but discovering that the gain makes no difference to the USB was a fairly important thing to find out. All right, so get shipped to Australia, and then Mac84 ships himself to Australia and picks it up. We'll do a collaboration, a collab. I think I've scared all of my American friends away from coming to Australia when I talk about all the things that go on here. So, all the snakes and the spiders and stuff. All right, let's get some more solder onto this. We've got to keep things moving, or we'll never get this done. One thing I can tell you is working with old components is definitely harder than working with brand new ones because of the corrosion that you get. Solder does not like sticking to things that are corroded. Oh my goodness, will you stick? I think I might have to start cleaning these pads. I've been handling this too much, and I've got solder not sticking to things like this pad. Hey, got it at last. Okay. This board is so friggin' big, it's hard to move around. I think I might have to change my iron tip. I feel like this one is really... Has it broken through yet? It has. I think it has. I'll show you. This is what happens to my soldering iron tips. And this, oh god, I'm not even on scope view. Wouldn't it be good if there was a way that you guys could press a button that would make the like a bell go off, so that you could see it, so I could see. But anyhow, this is my iron tip, and I'm just going to do this. I could be wrong, but this is what happened to the tip before. I know it's still intact. What has happened to me before is the flat part of the bevel wears right through until it's actually hollow. And then I sort of, no, it's still there. I suddenly find myself not being able to solder anything, and I'm like, what's going on? We still seem to be good for the moment. Alright, now we can do this with the microscope. I have got a beginner's guide to surface mount soldering video if anyone is interested. You can find it on the featured videos on my YouTube channel. And one of the things that I do discuss for people who are soldering and having trouble getting solder to stick to what they want to stick. One of the really important things is things being clean. Solder does not like to stick to stuff that's dirty. I got myself a nice big fat bridge here. I might just have to use a little bit of WICK to get rid of it. Come on, WICK. He's not in Canada. So Steve is in Jersey. You can tell from the way he talks. New Jersey. Okay, I'm going to have a look at this. The board's too big to try and look at this with the microscope camera, so I'm just going to do it with my eyes to see if I've got any bridges. And I do not see any. So there we go, one component down, 50 quadrillion to go. Doo-doo. Let's have a look at this guy. I'm just going to, in the instance of these, I do want to have a look at the two boards. Where'd I put your other one? Anyone? Anyone? I thought it was over here somewhere. Here it is. Yeah, no, that component is missing from this board, so I can't rate it from that one. So we've got but one choice, and it's this little guy here. Forget about it. No, his Jersey accent isn't noticeable at all. And in actual fact, every now and again he does do it in his live streams, but he deliberately goes into a Jersey accent, but he doesn't talk like that normally. Now these ones here have very, very, very thin and easy to bend pins. So for that reason we have to be ultra careful once this is off the board. We will want to make sure this doesn't get bent or damaged or anything like that. And of utmost importance, I don't want to drop it on the floor. It's not melting as easily because I believe there's some crustiness happening this side. There we go, she's starting to give. So hold it here until the solder. There we go. Flipping it over is fine. On his back, he's not going to stick to the board, but I just don't want, when I melt that, to move it, let it go, and then the solder melts, so the solder hardens, and it's still stuck in there, just in a different position. Max dropped the whole tray of new 68030s. Yeah, I've got a few of these here, and I actually managed to drop one as well. I think that one got dropped. I mean, look what happens to these pins. Not good, not good. I bought I bought a whole bunch of 68030s that weren't Motorola a while ago, and one of them worked fine, But then another one didn't work, and I'm like, oh, is it the chip, or is it me, or... I just didn't know. Didn't know. I do have a little bit of bendy here. I mean, within reason, I can bend these chips back into shape. .601s. Oh, the 601s, they got way more pins and they're tiny. Yeah, that would be quite a job. I mean, I have done it. I have done that before with bent pins. I've had ones where I've damaged them and I've ended up having to bend them back into shape. But it's not something that is an enjoyable job. I don't recommend it. I won't be as hard with this chip as I was with the PLCC. I'll be far more gentle. Just let the heat do the work. Heat and the flux in the... Oi! Stay still, your thing. Ah! It's not staying. Oh! I'm getting cross with it. We're near... Oh, jeez. This thing is just going to send me to an early grave, this thing. Tells ya. All right. Stop it. Stop it. Don't. Don't. Oh, far out. Get this thing to stick to my finger easier than I'm getting it to stick to this vise. Could you just stay there? Apparently the answer to that is no. Ow. Right, that will do. I think I have got those flat enough. Do I dare brush them with a toothbrush? I think the answer is no, I do not. We'll make sure that I'm sticking them in the right place. This one is UC16. So let's now do this. And what I'm going to do this time that I did not do last time, I'm going to get a Q-tip thingy, what we here in Australia call a cotton bud. And get some iso alcohol and give these pads a good old rub in case I've got fingerprints on them or anything like that, so that solder will stick to them a little bit easier. There we go. And now I'll gently put this into position. I need to find pin 1. That pin 1 looks like it's there. No. There we go. So we've got a dot there. Pin 1. And there are 2 other dots on here as well, but this one is different, so we will assume that is correct. I admire your patience. Thank you very much. I actually quite enjoy doing this sort of stuff. So it does make it easier. Okay. These are really, really long pads. There we go. When I was chatting to Bowl about this revision 1 board, he said there's something with the sound chip. The pads are the wrong size or something, so I'll have to do some creative stuff getting that component on the board. Okay, so you see that, and let's hope we can get solder to stick to these, because I really don't want to have to clean these too much, because, well, look at them. I don't want to bend them. You're a nightmare. Chaos. World in crisis. Doing the SE30 done over 30. I love Scotch, thank you very much. How long will it take to swap everything? Well, I'll put it this way. If you've got a dinner engagement, you might miss it. This will... I haven't actually... Look, I could probably figure this out by kind of timing myself for one of these and then adding them up with all of them. It will take several hours. It does take me longer when I'm doing this stuff while I'm live streaming, because I sort of stop and chat and get distracted and all that sort of stuff and start talking about eating Thai food or something like that, or a show that I watched. Yeah. So I've managed to get this pinned down on both corners, opposing corners, so it's sort of secure at the moment for me to then go in and do a little bit of drag soldering here. Now, drag soldering with pins like this, ultra careful. Very, very gently, very, very gently. There we go, this is looking good. I've got, obviously, way too much solder on here at the moment. I will have to remove some of it, but... What is going on with this one? Why have I got gunk on there? Gunk be gone. Okay. Let's get rid of some of that excess here with some WICK. Are you excited for the imminent release of Alien Romulus? No. No. No, I've been so disappointed with the recent Alien films. If it turns out to be good, I'll be happy. But the last one, was it the last one? Was so bad, it annoyed me. It actually made me angry. It's a shame, because I mean, I really like Michael Fassbender. Was it Covenant or something? Covenant, yeah. Prometheus had so much potential that could have been brilliant, but it wasn't. I watched... excuse me, I've got a sniffle. No one wants to hear me sniffle. And in, of course, Covenant, that was the most annoying thing ever, when they land on a unknown planet, uncharted planet. They walk around the place without any form of breathing protection or anything like that, and then they all inhale spores from a plant. Spoiler alert. All inhale spores from a plant, and I think to myself, I mean, did we all suddenly become stupid in the future? I found that just the concept of that baffling. You know, it's like science fiction's got to hold up. The stories have got to be plausible. But when you have something like that where it is just pure stupidity, you sort of think, these guys deserve to die. I feel positive that both James Cameron and Ridley Scott give it their thumbs up. Okay. Last of Us. Which one was Last of Us? Was that the one with Pedro Pascal? Can't remember. The one, is it based on a game or something? What was that one? I think they're all on. Hated the last movie. Checked out Fallout. Yes, I've seen Fallout. Fun soldering up Commander times 16 clone Otterix. Don't know that one. Fallout. Yeah, I enjoyed Fallout. I have always been a big fan of Walton Goggins. I find the female lead one of the weirdest looking human beings on Earth. It's like her eye sockets are sticking out too far or something. And then her head looks like it's disconnected from her neck. I saw her in Yellow Jackets. I don't know if anyone saw the series Yellow Jackets, but she played the role of like the popular girl in Yellow Jackets. So when I saw her come up in this, I was sort of like, oh, I know that chick. But she is an odd looking turnout, there's no doubt about that. There are lots of things I liked about Fallout. I found the guy in the big suit was a little bit weak, just in terms of performance and whatnot. But okay, I'm just going to clean this up with some iso alcohol and then just check that all these pins look like they're on. I mean, it's, you know, look, it's not her fault that she looks like that. I really can't be mean about someone, things that they have absolutely no control over, and then that is something she has absolutely no control over. But I just find the way she looks kind of bizarre. And that's fine. I'm sure there are plenty of people that find the way I look bizarre. No, she's not unattractive. I mean, this is the thing. She's not unattractive. She's just funny looking. I think we're good. I'm just looking for bridges. I mean, all these pins look like they're stuck down. I definitely think we've got 100% adhesion, and I don't think we have any bridges going on here. But I just, you know, want to check. I'll be able to give this a better once over when it's ultrasonically cleaned, because it's a lot easier to see this stuff. But it all looks good to me. I mean, I can zoom in. Zoom! I don't see any bridges, so I consider that a success. Zoom and enhance. Hollywood enhance. I love it when they get stuff from like a really low res camera and like CSI, and then they like zoom. Oh, can you zoom in on that? Now enhance, and it's like, oh yeah, we've identified the killer. And it's like, yeah, they were 1 pixel. They were 1 pixel. How did you enhance that? AI. That's how. Let's grab another chip. We've got to keep this thing moving. Oh, crapsties. Drop the soldering iron there. We don't want that. No, you want me to leave UC14 blank, because we're going to do that with a new one. So let's now do another one of these. This we're going to do UC12, which is a swim. Going for a swim. this guy. I watched one show, and look, it was a very short-lived show. I think we probably only had like one series. It may not have got past the pilot, I'm not sure. But I remember watching this show, and they used the camera to not just zoom in on the picture, but they zoomed in on a girl's eye, and then saw the face of the killer in the reflection from her eye. So there's a camera, there's zoom in, eye, keep zooming into the eye, and then saw the face of the killer in the reflection of the eye. And I thought, I'm out. See you later. That is just too stupid for me. Foxhound477, hello there. I know, I think Zoom and Enhance has been around for a lot longer than Blade Runner. And what about all of the, whenever people are using computers on TV, and they're usually tapping away on the keyboard all the time, doing stuff that we know they would probably actually be doing with a mouse and a cursor. And then when they show the screen, it makes lots of noise. It goes... Hollywood OS, I call that. Mac 2 CI repairs, yay! We have to do some research. What was the very first TV show that zoomed and enhanced an image from a camera? I feel like I can hear a cat meowing. I actually very sadly lost a kitty cat this week. She was very old though, she was 15 years old, and her kidneys had completely failed, and so we had to go and say our final goodbyes to her this week, and that's not a lot of fun. Especially when the vet bill is $2,000. But had to get all those tests done. Wouldn't have known what was wrong with her without the tests. How? Three weeks ago. Only got me for $18.50. Yeah, I mean, look, at the end of the day, we came in there with a lot of potential ideas as to what was wrong with her. We were worried that she had swallowed something that she shouldn't, because she was vomiting a lot. And so we got x-rays and blood tests. And so when you're hitting it with that, I mean, the x-rays and blood tests just on their own were probably close to $1,000 just for those. And then, of course, we had hospitalisation, we had medications because she had to be put under. We had IV drip because she was dehydrated, you know, stuff like that. So, you know, it's just, I don't at any stage feel like we have been ripped off. It's just always you know, we get an itemised bill, so we know exactly what the money's been spent on. But you can't help but feel it's like, you know, we had to pay all this money and we lost the cat. So it's not ideal. But anyhow, as I say, the cat was very old, 15 years old. I rescued her. She was an abandoned cat. She was abandoned in this area, and whoops, microscope camera's gone. Hello, chickens. So this is what happens if he's back. If any of the cameras fail, in the way I have it set up in OBS, at the very bottom in the layers of images is the chook cam. So theoretically, if a camera goes out, you'll end up looking at the chickens. Yeah, I have 3 cats now. I had 4 before. They are all of the cats that I have now are essentially rescue cats. So the 2, the one that died this week, she had a kitten. You know, when we rescued her, I mean, I started feeding her when she started turning up, and she was really friendly. And then after my house became a regular food source, she one day then just turned up with a little kitten. So she had a kitten. I expect she probably had a litter at some stage, and my guess is they probably died. But she had this one kitten, which is one of the other cats that we have. So that's one of the 3 cats I have left. She is 1 year younger than the other one, so she's 14. Yeah, so. And then the other 2 cats we have, they're little tiny kittens we found in a park. Just abandoned kittens we found in a park. It's very, quite sad and frustrating. I don't like when people abandon animals. Whoopsie. But they're lovely, friendly little things. And yeah, we decided to keep them. And they were very unwell, and they were covered in parasites, and it was an absolute nightmare, but yeah, they're all healthy now, except one of them is very, very fat. It was Columbo in 1975, followed by Blake 7 in 1981. You know what? You may not know this about me, Kai. I am a huge Blake 7 fan. Right, let's jump across to here now. Let's see if we can flip this board this way. We're going to have to work on this upside down. One got run over and the other died of old age. Yeah, that's no good. Ours are indoor cats, so there's no danger of them getting run over. It's a bit tricky here in Australia because cats are an introduced pest. They're not native to this land, and we have a lot of native wildlife here which is simply not equipped to deal with a carnivore like a cat. We have birds that nest on the ground because they've evolved that way. They've not had to deal with little, killing machines like cats. And so, for the sake of the general wildlife, I sort of keep the cats indoors. There have been the numbers of species of animal that have been become extinct in this country because of introduced animals like cats, dogs, foxes, rabbits. There are. It's a very kind of embarrassing statistic from this country. All right, so I'm going to do this. I'll probably do this one down here. Just get a little bit of this. I watched a doco last night. I don't know if anyone has heard of it. It's called How to Poison a Planet, and it's about 3M. I don't know if anyone here has ever seen a movie called Dark Water with what's that guy's name? The guy who played the part of the Hulk in Mark Ruffalo. And there's a movie called and it mainly focuses on DuPont, But of course the chemicals that DuPont used were actually created by 3M. But yeah, it was not a happy documentary, because it's basically talking about the fact that the chemicals that 3M have created now exist in all of our waterways, our drinking water, the sea, ice, and essentially they exist in, they believe 98% of the world's population actually have these chemicals in them, in their bodies. And they're referred to as forever chemicals because they will never break down. They are man-made chemicals, not naturally occurring, even though 3M did actually try to lie to the world and say that they were naturally occurring. So yeah, it was, as I say, not uplifting at all, especially when you look at the result of sort of high incidences of cancers and stuff like that in areas where their water has been polluted by these chemicals. Because 3M have managed to, as the reason why the documentary is called How to Poison a Planet is because what they have done with these chemicals is they created stuff which has just ended up everywhere. Things like Scotch Guard, for making clothes moisture resistant. Using in firefighting foam. The firefighting foam is amazing because that's just stuff just pouring down into waterways and stuff like that. But anywho, that's enough of that. Whoopsie, it's an Australian doco, so I'm not sure if it's available to other parts of the world, but I did also find it very, very fascinating. But if you haven't seen it, do check out the movie Dark Water with Mark Ruffalo. It's not like a big blockbustery type action film or anything like that. It's but it is very, very good. And I found it very entertaining, riveting. It's the sort of movie which I have actually watched more than once because I find it so entertaining. This one was way easier than the other one, and the reason for that is this one has far less corrosion on it. And this is, as I mentioned at the beginning, this is what we're going to find as we move across the board. The further away we move from that battery damage, the easier these components are going to be to work with. So the chemicals that 3M are responsible for are these PFAs or something like that. They're sort of like fluorocarbons or something like that. I can't remember. All that information was in the documentary, but it's fallen out of my ear. The information, that is. Alrighty, let's maybe do a smaller component this time. Let's go and grab this little UB14. Red, well, no, that was UB40, wasn't it? Yeah. It's time for songs. It's time for Brankus songs. As much as possible, I'm going to be removing, just doing the surface mount, and I guess it will probably be the next live stream. I don't see any way I'd be able to get that done in this one as well. I will be working on the through-hole stuff, and the through-hole stuff will involve heating the board on my my little heated thing. What do you call it? It's a hot plate. Hot plate. There we go. That'll do. Hot plate. Ow! That's hot. Actually, I can probably just do this with a microscope, come to think of it. Well, would you want to record some songs together, Steve? It's just too much talent there to keep to ourselves. Comply with me, comply, just do what I say. I have trouble getting that low note. I'll have to start higher. when I hit 100K, we'll do an album. Okie dokie, UB14. Let's do the little cleany thing that I'm trying to get into the habit of. Clean up these pads. It does definitely make the soldering easier to have these pads sparkling clean. What songs are going to be on it? Well, you tell us. I mean, come on. We need to keep you guys happy. And I definitely think we need some Mariah Carey on there for sure. Now, UB14, what have we got here, Kai? What's UB14 going to do for us? Is this a really important one, or is this one that's just like, not so much? It's fairly close to these ports. I wonder if it's something to do with the serial ports. I'm guessing it's something to do with the serial ports. Oh, far out. Damn. These pads, they're small. Don't even try to feel. You can't stop that reefer. Got some great ones there. It's so much to choose from. So just in case anyone didn't see it, Steve made a thing. Oh God, these pads here are impossible for me to get to. I'll have to figure out how I'm going to do that. I might have to use some hot air or something. I just can't get heat to the pads because they're sort of tucked in underneath. Made a thing and it works, yep. But boy, didn't Steve confuse himself in his live stream when he put the female connector on, the male connector on instead of a female connector. You could hear the sound of the gears whirring. Just going to lift this up and have a little check to see whether I got this on correctly. Correctamundo. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's soldered. Yep, that's good. So what I would say about this particular component here is it would be nice if those pads came out a little bit further out from the sides of the component. So that's for both UB11 and UB14. So it's my request list. Again, I think many of these have probably been addressed because I am not the first person to build one of these. I mean, Boll actually created one using this, so he will have done all this, and he's probably like, oh God, this is hard. I'm going to change that. And he's probably refined it. So when I do the next one, because I am doing another one, because I need to do one for myself, I'm hoping it will be a little bit easier than this one. Yeah, 2FX is a monster. And it is one of the reasons why I'm so glad I do have the big 30-litre Vevor ultrasonic cleaner. You will find a link in the description to it, and you will also find a review of that. I'm probably going to do a follow-up review fairly soon. Did someone say, can you please do a 1 year later review? And I'm sort of thinking, yeah, it probably makes sense, because a lot of the time when you're working with stuff, you can say, yeah, this is all great, and then it might just break 5 minutes later. So if you've had a chance to use something for an extended period of time, I think you're then able to give a better sort of follow-up review. And I have to say, well, I'll put this in the review, but I have been extremely happy with that ultrasonic clean. I love this big 30-litre sucker. Oops, I somehow forgot the ground plane. Oh yeah, been there. The old blue SCSI debacle. I've got a few of them, actually. If anyone wants some, I added a ground plane to it so I could use it, because I built one, and I'm like, no, I'm not going to throw it away. So after building one, I did actually add the ground plane to my blue SCSI, but then I didn't bother building anymore, just ordered some more. I don't know how I managed to get the dud one, but I did. One thing we could do with these, because these pads are so so small, is we could actually use hot air to put this on instead. So I can go in here and get some solder onto all these pads, like this. Just like that. There we go. And then plonk this little guy on here in more or less the right position, like it is. And then just hit it with some hot air until we can get that in the right spot. Generally don't like doing it with larger components, doing it this way with larger components, mainly because I have trouble holding them in tweezers. Incidentally, that if you're ever wondering where the smoke's coming from, it's the flux that smokes. It's not the component or the solder or anything like that. Okay, let's go in and have a look, see how it went. Terrific. Yep. I'm just going to jump across here. I've got absolutely no idea how many people are watching my live stream. Currently sitting on about 48 by the looks of things, so hello to you all. If you have said hello and I have not said hello back, I do apologise. It's nothing personal. I just do miss things sometimes. Alright, let's look at this. So I can see that Bowl has, by the looks of things, set this up so that we can... Oh, okay, so there's obviously a version of this board that uses through-hole resistor nets here. And then there's a version that uses surface mount. This one uses surface mount, so we'll be using these surface mount pads, but I can see we've got the option here to use through-hole ones as well. Alright, well, let's do those. They're both the same by the looks of things, so that's RP1 and RP2. Yep, they're both exactly the same, so I'm going to whip them both off at once. I won't get confused by that. Bourne's again replacements. He's done that so you can use the through-hole ones from SE30s. Cool. Always thinking. Always thinking. I was warned to go easy on the hot air on this purple board, that they can warp quite easily. So I'm going to try and minimize that. I'm obviously using hot air on this, but We don't care what happens to this board. It is a donor. So let's go and have some born identity resistors here. Yes, Teverid and I do that as well, depending on the component and depending on where my hand is and all that sort of stuff. But what I will usually do is I'll sort of get things into a rough position. Then I'll take the iron away, sorry, the hot air station away, let the solder harden, and then I'll place the tweezers on top of it, and then heat again, let the solder melt, and then to push down and make sure I get it flush on the board. That is a method that I do regularly use. There we go. Just getting these nice and flat. And then we just need to stick them on this board here. Should we test it? Should we test to see if the board works out? Which way around do these go? Does it matter? I think they were this way around. That way around. Because we've got a pin 1 here. I see we've got a line there. Oh yeah. We've got a bevel. You can see this one has a bevel on that edge. And then we've got a line across here, which is to indicate where the bevel goes. So nice and easy. I just wanted to just very quickly point out my t-shirt here. I don't know if anyone saw it, but Rebel Scum since 1977. You rebel scum. I just thought I would point that out. This and many other humorous t-shirts, humorous and esoteric t-shirts, are available from Qwertee, and you will find a link in the description, and you will also find a discount code if you want to buy a shirt from them. I've actually got a shirt coming from them at the moment. Hopefully it arrives soon. Like getting new t-shirts. Because I am a self-employed developer, I get to just wear t-shirts all the time. Even though they may not necessarily be age appropriate, because now I'm very old. Now these are probably the easiest components to put down, in my opinion, because they've got nice thick legs on them. Nice spacing between the legs. Really, really easy to put these down. Just do a bit of drag soldering here. The flux just makes all the magic happen. Beautiful. I'm sure someone will watch this and tell me I'm doing it wrong. So, to those people, thank you. I had someone have a bit of a whinge at one of my live streams. They were watching a live stream and they're just like, boring. And I'm just sort of thinking, dude, it's a live stream, mate. If you want to sit there and replay, a live stream from however many years ago it was, it's like probably 3 hours long, something like that. That's fine. If you want something more concise and short, don't watch a live stream. Actually, I had a really someone else had a whinge at one of my videos recently. Oh, that's right, my trace repair one, or was it pad repair? One of those two. It's like, oh, there's a whistling sound in the background. There probably is. I'm not sure. I recorded that one so many years ago. I was probably using cheaper microphones and stuff like that. What was the other thing they said? Oh, why don't you tell us what temperature you're using? So I might have to go and re-record that video and get all these things right. I do actually talk about the temperature of irons quite a lot in my beginner's guide to soldering, because one of the points that I generally make about it is that I don't necessarily recommend people use the temperature that I solder with. It's because I solder at a very, very high temperature, but then I try and work very, very quickly. And if you are just getting started with soldering, I don't recommend that's the way to do it, because I think it's too easy to then do damage to things with working with that high heat. Power cache for the 22X22. Cool, excellent. Having a whine about not having a whine. Yeah, it's a bit early for me at this stage. I have like a standard that I keep. It's like, oopsie, just lost my plunger, and I can't see it. Where did it go to? How on earth does something go, something that is bright white, just fall on the ground and suddenly disappear? That makes no sense to me. It has literally got sucked up into the abyss. Well, I do actually have, I think, a spare plungy thing here that I can probably use, but there we go. Nope, not that one. I could use this one, but oh, this is actually one of my homemade ones. Didn't even realise. I did it in a clear filament. So we just use another one rather than trying to find the old one. I'm going to take these two guys off. Oh, you can't see. I'm going to take these two guys off now. I believe these are probably both the same. But I can't with these glasses. They could be anything. S in front of so it's UB12 and UB13. Yep, they're the same. They are the same. So we're going to do those two next now. Oh, what happened to there? Oh no, I see what it is. Yeah, I don't know. It's like, it's got to be here. But anyhow, I'm redesigning it. I'm going to print new ones anyway, so it's probably not something I need to worry about greatly. $75175 chips. That's what we're taking off now. All of these sorts of chips, these ones that sort of start with sevens and that, these little packages, they're all seem to still be ready available. So, you know, if you lose any of these or if they're damaged on your original, you really shouldn't have any trouble getting new ones. It's never too early. No, this is true. I mean, wine at lunch is good. It's fine. Totally acceptable. I mean, the other day, earlier this week, I actually went and had a yum cha lunch, and I had a beer with that. Beer with lunch, and I felt totally fine with that. What is not good is if you have like a really boozy lunch. Like sometimes I catch up with some old friends of mine, and we might get together for lunch, and you know, we drink copious amounts. And then, as a youth, I would probably have then just been fine, maybe just continued drinking, and then just gone to bed at night. What happens if I do that? If I go and have a boozy lunch, I come home and I just need to sleep. I just have to have a nap. I'm going to sleep now. I'm tired. Boop, boop, boop. Get onto the pad, you. There we go. What type of wine do I like? Red or white wine? I like white wine. I am very much a white wine drinker. There's a kind of a reason for that. Is I'm someone who has genetically inherited chronic acid reflux. So I do take medication for that, but it basically means that the little doorway that keeps all of your stomach stuff down there and not gurgling up into your throat doesn't work properly. So I have an issue often with red wine because red wine is very tannic. They get the tannins from the skins, and I find that those tannins do tend to give my digestion a bit of grief. I do like the taste of red wine. I'm quite happy to taste it, but I generally steer clear of it just because it sort of messes with my digestion. And I am also someone who really quite likes fresh, light whites. So I like things like Semillons, Sauvignon Blanc, a combination of the two, Semillon, Sauvignon Blanc, Pinot Gris. And here in Australia, we actually grow both those varieties. Semillon and Sauvignon Blanc, we both grow very good versions of those. And so when they blend them, they're actually able to make really, really nice drink now, tasty white wines for cheap. So it's that's one of the things that I really like about white wine. Very inexpensive. So tomorrow is Greek Easter with lots of food and wine. I have to go to 2 separate family functions, lunch and dinner. Who's rolling you from the first one to the second one? 1,130 of these in stock. So yes, we definitely can still get hold of these components. Incidentally, for people who where it might still be the 3rd of May, it is actually the 4th of May here. So I will say to everyone, may the 4th be with you. That typical nerdy thing that we all do on the 4th of May. Sorry. I feel like I want to do these. Oh, you can't see. I'm pointing here. I want to do these ones next. I just want to. They're not the same, but I think I can remember which is which. It's UF13 and UE13 and UD13 by the looks of it. So I just took off UE, and now I'm taking off UD. UD's on that side. Start with UE13. Hook him there. Oh, bang. V8 Commodore manual. The old Holden Commodore, the very well-known Australian car, well-known out here, which is unfortunately not made anymore. We don't make cars out here anymore. It's a real shame because it's a lot of skills that have just gone and cannot easily be brought back. Very disappointing. The car I drive is actually an Australian-made car, and the car I drove before that is an Australian-made car. And my old car, my 1970 Dodge Phoenix, is also an Australian-made car. But no more. Oh, this one is really annoying me. Stay still. Or harm will befall you. I have always been a fan of sort of bigger engines, which I know is, of course, the wrong way to go. That is, things are changing. But I've always loved big, torquey engines, so that, like, if you're driving up a hill or something and you just suddenly decide you want to speed up the hill, just tap the accelerator and the car just goes vroom, you know. Yeah, and I like practical cars as well. So I like a car that's got a nice big engine, but you're not going to get stung really badly with insurance because you're driving around in a sports car. I much prefer a car that is just like a family sedan, family saloon, and but has lots and lots of power. The Dodge Phoenix I have is a 6 point. I think it's a 383. What's that in litres? That's about 6.2, something like that. It's a 383 big block. It's not a Hemi, even though it is a Chrysler engine. The big 383s and 440s were not hemispherical engines. Mm. 6.27625 litres, there you go. Quite unassuming, but has a massive power surplus. And one of the things that we call them here is a sleeper. The car I drive now, I think, is a 3.5 or 3.6 litre V6. That goes like the clappers, I tell you. It's 200 kilowatts. Don't ask me what that is in horsepower. Righty. Let's do some solder dragging. The way the solder's not adhering to some of these pads. Need to saturate it a bit more. There we go. I'm going to need some more flux on those because they're bridging. Most of these components that I've been putting on here have been very, very close to the original position. I know there are some that are not, but these ones are very close to the original position. So that was one of the things that was quite challenging about all of the passive components. Quite a few of them were in completely different positions on the board, or even on the other side of the board. But of course, we cannot complain. We can't complain that is the result of turning this into a 4-layer board, because getting a 4-layer board made up is a hell of a lot cheaper than getting a 6-layer board made up. Oh, thank you for that, Jay. Jay's just popped up and put a link to the Recap and Map website. 304 kilowatt. Yes, I would expect a lot more kilowatts on that one. Divide by 3 and multiply by 4. I'm not sure I can do that. Anything to consider before I recap my Mac 2 PSU? Nothing comes to mind. I have done, I think possibly only one, maybe two of them before. And nothing comes to mind off the top of my head, mainly because I don't remember. I don't remember if there's anything to note. But I do know a lot of those metal enclosed power supplies are a bit of a pain. What I generally say is, if you're in a situation where the board is connected to like the power plug, and so when you take it out, the plug is stuck to the metal case, and you've got the PCB hanging here, and it's joined by wires to the metal case. If you're in that situation, I always recommend desolder the power plug so that you can separate the board from the case. It's so much easier than try and work with them. Now, there is a little tiny board in the two. There's the big board, and then there's a little tiny board there as well. And I actually had one that had a failed resistor on that, and I don't remember which one it was. But just have a good look at that little board that's inside there as well, because that can get a bit of corrosion and stuff on it. What are we going to do now? UE12. Oh yes, if you're not comfortable with the voltages in the PSU, don't do it. Oh, that's the other thing. If you have fired it up recently, those great big fat high voltage capacitors usually hold a bit of charge. So you either leave it off for a while before you start working on it, or you need to discharge them, because I have personally discharged some of those capacitors on myself. And while they are not life-threatening, they are enough power to generally give you nasty burns. Are very, very painful and burns. So either leave them there for a while before working on them, or discharge those capacitors. And you can basically just discharge those capacitors with, I could just do it with a handle of a screwdriver. Some people should do it with a resistor, but yeah. Is it a Sony or an yeah, of course, forgot about the whole Sony and Aztec. UE12's coming off now. We're back onto some of these bigger components, so the view is a little bit more difficult. It's this one here, UE12. Might put a little heat shield in here so I don't melt these RAM sockets, because you never know, I might want to use them. Okay, so this one is a, I don't know what this is, 338S6523. 65C23. That's what it's labelled as, 65C23. And assuming Kai is still awake, he'll probably tell us what this does. That's probably vitally important. Another PLCC chip. Great thing about the PLCC chips is you don't need to be super careful with the pins, the way the pins fold up underneath. It's a lot harder to bend them out of shape. So that's a very handy thing. But you don't see PLCCs anymore. I don't think any new builds, new manufacturing, new circuits have got PLCCs on them. I think they are a thing of the past. Apple part number for a standard 65C22N. There you go. It's a standard one. The VIA. That's a VIA. Anyone who has missed the beginning of the stream, what I am doing here is using some solder wick to remove any solder from the bottom of these pins, because when I place this onto the new board, I want it to sit flush. It's been off for a very long time. Then you're fine. You really don't need to worry. It's not like those things hold charge overnight. They only hold a charge for, you know, a relatively short period of time, and then you're safe. I got zapped once by one of those on an iMac that was opened up. So when you take the LCD off one of the old aluminium iPads, you take the glass off the front, and then you take the LCD out, and then the power supply is facing you. All the pins of the power supply are facing you. And if you've had it on recently, you can brush your hand over one of those and get a nasty shock. I have been shocked many times. It's not on purpose. I'm not a huge fan of getting shocked. I derive no pleasure from it. Alright, let's do some soldering. I'm going to get a bit more flux here because these pads look like they're being a bit crappy to me. There we go. Let's do this side. I wonder if it's because this is a JLC PCB PCB that I'm finding these pads a little bit harder to get solder to stick to them. Once I get the solder on there, they're fine, but it's almost like they're not tinned as well or something. Or as I say, it could just be oxidization. Got a little bridge there. There we go. Alright, let's just check and see if I've got any other bridges. Where are we? Oh, look at this, all this chat. Just checking out. Blah, blah. Pulled the power supply out of an iMac 27-inch. I actually, oh, that reminds me, I've got one that I'm trying to repair. I've got a 27-inch iMac power supply here, and I've got to get back to that. The poor guy gave me this computer. I mean, he thought it was a goner, so it's not like there's a massive expectation to fix it. I mean, he thought it was done, but it's popping fuses, and I found a bung transistor in it, and I replaced it, but it's still not working. Oh, and I found a bung diode in it as well. But now I've got to probably do a little bit more testing. Okay, so that one went really well as well. Feel like we're just burning through this at the moment, when in actual fact we're going incredibly slowly. UC10 swim chip. Okay, so the other one was the SWIM PIC. This is the SWIM VLSI. It stands for the something something incredible machine. Something like that anyway. SWIM, one of the things about SWIM always makes me actually think of a song by a band called Fishbone. I don't know if anyone knows Fishbone, but they have a song called SWIM, and it's about crowd surfing. It's a song about, you know, the lead singer crowd surfing, and he calls it SWIM. And so whenever I hear SWIM, it was Steve Wozniak, wasn't it? Steve Wozniak, incredible machine. Of course it was. I mean, who else would it be? Who else SW would it be? I love the fact that we've got this situation where, Steve Jobs hardly ever signed anything other than checks. And the inside of that MacBook that he did for that woman in the wheelchair that one time. But apart from that, he's hardly signed anything at all. But then on the flip side, you've got Steve Wozniak, who signs everything. Anything you put in front of him, he'll just sign. Fishbone rocks, yes they do. I love Fishbone. That was UC10 I took, wasn't it? Yeah, UC10. I don't want to get these things mixed up. That's embarrassing if I do. Now what I'm going to do, I'm just going to do this and see if it makes any difference. I'm going to get a little bit of this wick. This will make this easier. Bit of a waste of solder, but it is definitely going to make this easier. Get the solder on here, then I will remove it with some wick, and then the new solder will adhere to it much easier. Let's see if it makes a difference. What year is your 27-inch iMac? You know, it's newer than that. It's one of the ones that's sort of where the LCD is stuck to the screen and the screen's stuck to the base with adhesive rather than magnets. It's I don't know. It's like a 20. I don't know. It's one that's still serviceable, it's still usable. That's for sure. Definitely worth fixing. I'm going to have to start a new tube of flux soon. This one's really getting low. I've been just getting a little bit too liberal with my flux output. Oh yeah, my goodness, that solder just stuck so much easier. Oh, I love the magnet glass. Yeah, for sure. It was just, they're so easy to work with those. I don't even worry about using a like a sucker thing to lift them off. You just get your fingers on the edge and pull them off. The glass, that is. And take the LCD off. And nice access inside. This 2017, sorry, this 27-inch iMac that I've got, it's one of the ones where there's a little RAM upgrade dock hole in the back. That might narrow it down. No, I thought it made a difference, but it didn't. So, forget what I said. Forget what I said. Oh, come on. Come on. Do it. There we go. Okay, that's better. Could be a 2019. Oops. That was probably just a bit of WICK. Okay, there we go. Coming along so well. What is the magnet glass? So on the iMacs, the iMac models from, I think, what is it, about 2006 or 2007 or something like that, they had a frame made out of aluminium, and then you would have glass that was stuck on the front, but it's held in place by magnets. So if you wanted to access the inside of the computer, you could literally just lift the glass off, either with suction cups or whatever, and you just lift the glass off, and then you've got access to the inside. Then you undo some screws. The older models used to take the front bezel off. The later models, you would just take the LCD out and work underneath the LCD. And then in the later revisions of the iMac, they took that away from us and they actually glued it together. So you have to heat them, and then you have to break around the outside, and then you lift it off. And if you crack that glass, you're stuffed, because the LCD is actually stuck to the glass. So if you then buy replacement glass, you've got to get the LCD off the broken glass and then stick it to the new glass in exactly the right position. It sucks. Oh, I haven't done a smash in ages. I'm going to do one. Thank you, Steve, for reminding me.
Smash that like button.
Yay. Right, so the next one we're going to do is UC8. Well, how many have we done so far? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 11, 12. We've done 13 ICs so far. So in case anyone is wondering what the progress has been like, 13 down so far. How far are we in? We're, holy crap, have I been going for 2 hours? Son of a gun. The time just flew by. Goodbye, Nate. Thank you for joining. You aren't allowed to repair your computer. Yes. As I have mentioned this several times in my live streams, I am someone who is very much into the concept of repairing things and trying to get things to last as long as possible. It just makes sense to me. Geez, someone just sneezed really loudly. Airways again. Another sneeze. Kai fell asleep. Oh no. I'll give you a research project there, Kai. What is the UC8 for? It's got Apple 87 written on it. I mean, I could look at the board here and it'll probably tell me, but it's down here. And I'm up here. Three, 6-3. Yes, that's the one. Now I don't need exact numbers. Apple ASC sound chip. Cool. So we'll put this on here so that we have sound. Now I won't hold you to this, Kai. Just a rough number would be okay. How many of these ICs could you potentially source from somewhere else, as in like buy new or maybe get off UT source or something like that? And how many of them are people actually going to definitely need a 2FX 4? So how many of these chips are like, you need a 2FX or you're stuffed? TWEEZERS is specific of the PRC chips and the SCSI chip. They're not standard or used in any other model. Okay. The rest of the script logic master is fine. Master is fine for most parts. There you go. I tried Godzilla -1, made it as far as 20 minutes before it simply became too painful to watch. Good luck 20 hours giving it a try. The thing got such good reviews. I mean, I want to watch it because I do want to make my own judgment of Godzilla -1. But I was very, very annoyed that it won the best special effects Oscar, because I felt like there was another more deserving film in there. But having not seen it, maybe it does do some groundbreaking stuff with special effects, but I suspect it doesn't. I suspect it's just more creature effects like any other Godzilla movie. I'm at a really bad angle for doing this, and I'm getting nowhere, so I am actually going to try and spin the board around to get this done. Why the hell does this pad not want to take solder on? Got it. Got it. Oh, you can't see. Special effects cannot save us from Redis garbage. Fair enough. Okay, so we definitely need an FX if you want to make an FX. 2FX, that is, not special FX. I can't believe that Jay went off to watch a movie while I was doing a live stream. I've never been so more offended in my life that someone would do that to me. I'm sort of with all the blood, sweat and tears of doing this live stream for the benefit of, you know, humankind, and then he goes off and watches Gorilla Plus One. Godzilla Plus One. Now this one is SCSI DMA. So this is one of the ones that's specifically 2FX, so I've got to be careful with this one. Oh, I'm glad you guys got a good view of me removing that. Here it is. It's made in Hong Kong. How are the chooks going? None to be seen. They're around. Right, super careful with the pins again. Shall I use my clamp? I think I might use my clamp. So I guess we just have to ask the question here, you know, how badly do you want SCSI on this thing? Yeah, it's sold for less than a year and the Quadra came out and stomped all over it. I sure remember that. I remember when the first Quadras arrived and, you know, sort of in the industry that I was in, which is sort of desktop publishing and graphic design and pre-press and all that sort of stuff. I bent a pin. This was an industry that was just being absolutely turned on its head by computers. And in that process, we were just constantly pushing the computers to the limit. And you might open up a color image into Photoshop and then you might hit like unsharp mask or Gaussian blur or something. And you could just go and make yourself a coffee or go for a walk around the block while you waited for that little progress bar to make its way across. And that is very unproductive, you know. You've basically got these people, you're paying them to do work, and they're sitting there staring at a progress bar. So, needless to say, when we look at the cost of some of these computers when they came out, we're sort of like, oh, you know, back then this computer was like $8,000, and we go, oh my God, that's so much money. And it was, but it was also making money. You know, if you're paying a staff member to sit there and stare at a progress bar, it's worth spending $5,000, $8,000 on a computer to make them more productive. And the Quadra 700, I remember when that came out, not only did I love the look of it, and I don't know why turning it on its side made it so much sexier than the 2CI, but anyhow, and just firing up Photoshop and how quickly it launched and how quickly you could open files and how quickly you could edit them, it was you know, life-changing, industry-changing. Anyhow, I won't talk about prepress again. I did a lot of that in the last one. The TP version of compiling. Yeah, it was kind of sad. There were a lot of people that did end up losing their jobs for what ended up happening in the industry around that time. There was just no requirement for their skills anymore, and a lot of these people were highly skilled. But it's just sort of like, yep, no, we're doing that with a computer now. God. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. They used a number of 2FXs on one of the very early Pixar movies before Toy Story came out in the mid-90s. Because Pixar actually did you know, a few interesting things. First of all, they came up with some software called RenderMan, and it was groundbreaking stuff at the time. And of course, it was designed to work on a Mac, because Steve Jobs was still sort of, you'd rather have it working on a Mac than a Windows machine. And of course, they did all those wonderful short movies. There's a documentary on Apple TV called The Pixar Story. I don't know if anyone here has seen it, but it is very good, very entertaining. And I don't know if it is still the case, but for many years they were the only film studio, because they're owned by Disney now, but they were the only film studio that had never had a commercial flop, a box office flop. Every single movie they had made had been a box office success. Now, of course, it's all moot now, because as I say, they're part of Disney, and, well, Disney are pretty bloody good at making box office flops these days. Because they have absolutely no original ideas whatsoever. They're like, hey, you know what? Why don't we make another Marvel movie? Or is it Disney do MCU, don't they, I think? Well, why don't we make one of our old animated movies a live action movie? How about that? And we'll change the gender of the main character as well. Or something like that. Seriously, some of the stuff that Disney have come out with has just been... Oh, and Star Wars. I should mention Star Wars, of course, yeah. Let's make another Star Wars movie. still a little bit croaky from that cold I've been battling with for the last few weeks. We'll make it live action and CGI so it's better. How ridiculous is it they're making a live action version of Moana? I mean, apart from everything else, Moana's not even that bloody old. It was CGI, and then they're like, oh no, we're going to redo it now as live action. It's like, why? I mean, why? Okay, I think we're all looking good. Let's check it for bridges with my goggles. The thing that Pixar had, there were two things that Pixar had. Number one was John Lasseter, and the other was someone who believed in John Lasseter and was prepared to give him money to realize his dream. And that's where someone like Steve Jobs comes in. Steve Jobs, who identified what an incredible talent John Lasseter was and what a marketable talent John Lasseter had, but just needed the time to develop. And that's something where you really have to give credit to Steve Jobs for identifying that and investing his money in something which took a very long time to mature into money-making business. Oh, sorry, Kai, I just didn't see you saying. Good night, Kai. Thank you very much for joining. Sleep well. I have no idea how far I'll get through this. I'll probably keep going for another, maybe an hour, I suppose. We've got some very, very inclement weather on the way here. We've been told that we're likely to get an absolute dumping of rain, probably starting tonight and continuing to tomorrow. At the moment it's overcast, but it's not actually raining, which is nice because I'm planning to go out to dinner tonight. I'd rather not get absolutely soaking wet doing that. Go and have some Thai food tonight. I love a bit of Thai. I'm going to do this on the wood rather than on the PCB. It will hold better. Live action remake of The Simpsons. Goodness me. I think one of the really... Oh, that's a hair and it smells. I think one... Oh, man, that smells. Certainly not my hair. One of the things that I think a lot of these movie creators forget is they forget about the kind of the lightning in the bottle. They forget about the charm. They forget about the reason why something is so good and so memorable. And this belief that we can make this better now. We have all this new stuff. We can make it better. And you sort of think, well, you can maybe make it more technically advanced. You know, you might be able to add certain things to it, but will you be able to recapture that lightning in a bottle? You know, one of the examples I often give is talking about something like the Ghostbusters remake of 2016, where they basically said, hey, look, you know, let's you know, change things up here. We're going to show people that it's not just men who go around saving the world from evil. It's not just men who are scientists. We have women scientists and we have women heroes. And so let's make Ghostbusters with women instead of men. And oh, by the way, we've now got, and we're going to grab these funny women from Saturday Night Live or wherever they're from. Because keep in mind that I don't watch Saturday Night Live, so I don't really know. But and we'll have all of this new CGI, which we didn't have for the original film. No CGI in the original film. It was all done with practical effects and you know, sort of split screen and all that sort of crap. You know, rotoscoping and that, all that sort of stuff. Green screens and that. And excuse me. And so they go in and they make this 2016 version, and it's just not as good. You know, they've got all they say, hey, we're gonna throw all these ingredients at it. How can it not be good? And it was not good. You know, the sort of sorry. Yeah, as point Steve made about the movie Bean Counters is very true. Yes, part of the lightning in the bottle is that it's new. That's right. And of course, the other thing which I find really bizarre is that I don't even see how doing a movie like Ghostbusters with women instead of men is even some sort of, I don't know, validation of, you know, women being able to do things just as well as men or something like that. Because I should mention that I am very much, you know, sort of in the part of, you know, sort of, you know, wanting there to be movies with, you know, with good, sort of strong female characters in it. But what did they do with Ghostbusters? They basically took an idea that had been thought up by a group of men and written by a group of men and then acted by a group of men. And so they produced something with zero originality. So how is that then turning around and saying, oh yeah, look, they can do it just as well as the guys do? It's like, if you want to really do it just as well as the guys do, you come up with something original, like the original one was original. I actually feel like that it actually has an opposite effect when you get women in a movie like that, where they've basically just taken an old idea and then rehashed it by changing the gender. Now, I will go on record saying that I actually don't mind. I actually don't mind the 2016 movie if if you imagine that it didn't have all of the you know, sort of the bad press associated with the film before it had even come out and all that sort of stuff, and if you know, if you're prepared to just put aside the fact that there's very little original in it, I still find it reasonably entertaining. The little Chris Hemsworth character in it I thought was quite funny. There were parts of the film that I did enjoy, and so, you know, it's not like it's something that I would give a 1-star review or something. I give it maybe a 3, something like that, because it's a time waster, something along those lines. But I just think it would have made so much sense to have got all of that talent together to make something original rather than rehashing an old idea. And then, of course, the other thing I really take issue with is people getting too caught up in the message and not enough in the story. There are, you can watch a film with a character that is flawed, and perhaps during the film they become aware of these flaws and improve them, and that's character development. You start a film with someone who has, sort of issues, and then the end of the film with that person has grown and they've had growth throughout the film, and that's something enjoyable to watch from a character development perspective. And with what a lot of these films that have had, they've wanted to put in role model type characters. What they will often do is they end up bringing these characters in with no flaws. And so you've just got a smart aleck at the beginning of the movie, and you've got a smart aleck at the end of the movie. And that's just not entertaining to watch. Alright, we've got another chip with Apple written on it here. This one, it says it is an OSS. Whatever an OSS is, we're about to lift it off. I love Scotch. Thank you very much for that super chat. I do appreciate that. Nothing good for son to watch for inspiration. Yeah, you know what? Isn't it funny that there is this idea that there is, you've got to go in and make these films, with a message or something like that. I mean, there are so many movies out there that have a message, but they weren't all wrapped up in the message. The message was just part of the storytelling. If all you're trying to do is, make a message, say a message, without really properly developing a film or ideas or story, it's just going to be boring. Just catching up on the chat there. Because, I mean, look, let me give you a classic example of a situation here, which is of something that I watched recently, which is kind of contrary to what a lot of filmmakers are doing. I watched Fallout recently. People talked about it. I've talked about Fallout on a previous one, and someone even mentioned it tonight. Now, in that movie, or in that series, we are focusing around the girl with the boggle eyes, who comes from the, what did they call those things? Vaults, or whatever they were called. Now, I don't want to give any spoilers or anything like that for anyone who hasn't watched it and is intending to watch it. But the point is that you start off with someone who is completely and totally ill-equipped for what she is about to face. She is someone who has lived a sheltered life, and she is about to go into one of the scariest places there is. And throughout the episodes of the series, she gradually learns things, builds strength, makes shrewd decisions, this sort of stuff. And you're talking about development of a character. She starts off, with very little, and then by the end actually becomes quite formidable. And that is character development. That is fun to watch. If she had just started the series as being, I don't know, some sort of special kick-ass martial arts person that just goes up there and everyone that, everyone that she comes in contact with, she just, blasts her way through or something like that, it would not have had the same, appeal as a story. Keeping in mind, of course, that things like cartoons have had messages in them for a long time. You think of watching, like anyone who grew up with Fat Albert, it's going back a long way. Fat Albert has been around for a long time. Every episode of that had a message in it. So the message has been around for a while, just maybe the message has changed. Sesame Street, of course, has been a show that has been sort of teaching, what's the word, tolerance and differences and all that sort of stuff for a very long time. I grew up Sesame Street. Okay. Cat busters into a film. I need some fume extraction here. The smoke's going right up my schnoz. What was the message from Magic Roundabout? You will have to tell me what Magic Roundabout was. I have no idea what that is. What's Magic Roundabout? Do keep in mind that while we did get some shows over here from the US, we didn't get all of them. So if that is a US show, it may be one that never made it here. I think probably one of the earliest TV shows I have recollection of, that I actually have memories of watching, was a show called HR Puffin Stuff. I don't know if anyone has seen that, but I watched that at an age where I actually found it really scary. It was like a talking flute and like a witch or something. And I got to tell you, at the age I was, there were some concepts in that scared the crap out of me. Not to mention that HR Puffin Stuff's head is just ridiculously large. It has a roundabout. It's not US. Okay. I don't know what it is. Sorry. Don't know what a Magic Roundabout is. Or maybe I do. I mean, I just may not remember. British one. I think it got the name on 1 second. Okay, cool. I mean, it could well be something that I look up and go, oh yeah, I have seen that, but I've just forgotten the name of it. So I certainly did watch a lot of British TV when I was growing up. Loved the goodies when I was growing up. I don't know if anyone has watched the goodies in recent years, but they have not really stood the test of time very well. Very sad that we lost Tim Brooke Taylor during COVID. He was someone that died of COVID during the pandemic. All one season of it. Was there really only one season? Wow. Something that made such an impact on me. Thundercats. No, I definitely don't know that one. Patrick Pitts, hello there. I don't think I've said hello to you today. Transformers and Looney Tunes. Yeah, see, by the time Transformers was on TV, I was sort of not in an age where I was watching cartoons anymore. Just showed up. Well, there you go. Then it was good for me to say hello there. Never watched 18. A lot of people that I knew watched 18, but I never watched it. Don't know why, it just never interested me. I watched Knight Rider. I remember watching Knight Rider. Alright, now, I kind of want to do one of these ones, one of these fancy looking things. Look at this. Let's go here to the top view for a second. So these guys. These are weird packages. I mean, where there's little bits sticking out the side here. I don't know why they're like that, but they're like that. So I think I might do one of these now. Because I've been looking at the outline of those on the board ever since I first got it. So just doing a quick little recap. Well, this is for Patrick's benefit, who has just joined us. I'm transferring all of these ICs across from one board to the other. I am perhaps not moving as fast as I would like, but you know, that's just the joys of this sort of stuff. I have so far done 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 17, 18 ICs. I feel like I've been going forever, and I feel like I've hardly touched it, but I did start on probably one of the more populous areas of the board. There are a lot of chips up at this end. So, yeah. But it is going well. So far we haven't had any real dramas. I ended up not liking the serial chip from this one. It had a bit too much corrosion, so I stole one from a Quadra 610 donor board. But it's all coming along quite well. This board, incidentally, the one that I'm working on, in case anyone didn't see it in the part 1, is a early revision of the 2FX Reloaded board. And Bol, who created it, has since made a lot of improvements and got a newer revision of the board. And what that basically means is there are a few challenges ahead of me when I come to the final stages of the build. I will have to add a few bodge wires, because there are a couple of little mistakes. He has told me I need to swap 2 components around, which I've already done, because he had them mislabeled. And apparently there is there's a sort of a spot on the board somewhere where the pads don't line up with the chip, so you actually have to bend the legs of the chip to get it to sit on the spot. So that's going to be fun. Now this one is UF7. I'll just check to make sure I got the right one. UF7, yep, it is the BIU2. There you go. BIU2 for anyone. Get Smart, yes, we definitely watched Get Smart when I was growing up. Definitely grew up with Get Smart. Gut Bomb, have I said hello to you? I don't think I have. Hello, Gut Bomb. No. Doctor Who. I definitely grew up with Doctor Who, but the old ones, the old ones from the like 1970s mainly. So Doctor Who for me was mainly John Pertwee, Tom Baker, and then to some extent, what's that guy's name? What was the next one after Tom Baker? I've just gone blank. And then after that one was Colin Baker. And I have to admit, I did kind of drop off when Colin Baker arrived. I didn't really like him as Doctor Who at all. One of the things that I really did like about the Doctor Who, whose name I can't remember, is they had an episode called... Was it The Five Doctors? I think it was The Five Doctors. And in actual fact, that was a bit of a lie, because it was only 4, because one of them got caught in a rift in the space-time continuum, and that was because he was unavailable to appear in the show. Yeah. And of course one of them was dead, so they got an actor to replace the dead one. But I really enjoyed that one. Tom Baker was my fave. Yeah, look, it's very, very easy for Tom Baker to be the favourite. And it's not just because of Tom Baker. It was because it was at a time that they were really making good episodes. They had a really good, and it comes back down to that whole thing we've been talking about with stories. It's one of the reasons why current Doctor Who is just so off the rails. It's just they're just not putting the effort into the stories. They're just not good enough to keep you interested. During those Tom Baker times, they had really good, engaging stories to watch. Peter Davidson, thank you very much for that. What in the... Which, well, there's a big question mark and exclamation mark, so I should probably say it something like, what in the... What in the... There you go. What in the... Yeah, so Peter Davidson, who is... the interesting link is that David Tennant, who played Doctor Who in the newer series, he is married to Peter Davidson's daughter. So there's a sort of a Doctor Who link there that he had even before he played Doctor Who. So Doctor Who's father-in-law is Doctor Who. I think one of the good things about this chip package is having these little things sticking out the side gives some protection to these pins when it's not on the board. And that's a good thing. Yes, Inspector Gadget was pretty much just animated Get Smart. And it was, what was the name of the baddie from Inspector Gadget? I can't remember. Was it the Claw or something like that? I can't remember. But it was always the same baddie. Every episode was the same baddie. And it's very similar in Get Smart because it was always chaos. They really didn't come up with anything new with Inspector Gadget. Has anyone ever seen the movie of that? I certainly haven't. The live-action Inspector Gadget movie. With, I think it's Matthew Broderick. Broderick? Ferris Bueller? Got me a little bent pin here. There we go. I unbended it. Original Dr. Claw, that was it. Yeah, Dr. Claw. What's his name? Don Adam? I can't remember the Maxwell Smart guy. I can't remember his name, but anyhow, he did something that no one else had actually ever done. In that he negotiated, I think, a percentage of the syndication or something of Get Smart. So I think he ended up actually becoming incredibly wealthy from that show. Don Adams, yeah. Is he still alive? I have it in my head that he's not, but, you know, sometimes you have these people that are just like, oh my God, they're still alive. Interesting thing I can tell you is that one of the writers of that show, Mel Brooks, he is still alive. He's like in his 90s. Died many years ago, okay, yeah. My first DVD was Blair Witch 2. It just shows you what I know. I didn't even know they made a sequel. One funny thing about Blair Witch is I reckon I found the trailer scarier than the movie. It was a clever idea, that whole kind of found footage concept. What was that found footage movie with the alien? It was the name of a place. I can't remember the name of the place. History of the World Part 1. I have a sneaky... You've watched that recently? I wonder how well that movie would stand up. I know I loved it as a kid, but I'm just not sure what I would think of it as watching as an adult. Cloverfield, that's one. Thank you very much, Patrick. Thank you very much, Gutbob. Yeah, I loved that movie. I loved Cloverfield. It was just really kind of, I don't know, it's quite sort of disturbing at times, I thought. And I just think they did a wonderful job of that movie. Zoomy, zoom, zoom, zoom. Focusy, 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 focusy. Up. There we go. Let's get the next one. I don't know how, as I say, I'm gonna run for a certain amount of time and then I'll stop. I've got to go out and maybe get some groceries and things, and I want to do some house cleaning and all that, but you know, when you're doing these things, you sort of just kind of want to keep going as long as you can. I have to confess, I watched Spaceballs when it came out and I really didn't like it. I might have been the wrong age for it or something, I don't know. Because I know a lot of people, sort of my peers, people my age or maybe a little bit younger, absolutely loved it. But I didn't think that much of it at all. 63% reviews and 81% audience. It's interesting. Cloverfield made me motion sick. I don't blame you, Patrick. That camera is all over the place. There was Jay from the House of Moth and Dana from Dana Does Stuff. We sort of had this idea a while ago of potentially doing a YouTube channel, which you know, I don't think it's ever going to happen. I just think we all have too much to do. But of kind of discussing movies, you know, watching a movie and then discussing a movie, but talking about movies that have a massive split between their Rotten Tomatoes critic review and their Rotten Tomatoes audience review, and then discussing what we thought of the film and then discussing why we felt there was such a big split. So we were going to feature just those sorts of movies, just ones that get pretty lousy critic reviews, or even the other way around, but pretty lousy critic reviews. It's more often that way, and but quite favourable audience reviews. And we actually watched a movie that we were going to make our first, but then we never really got around to taking the idea any further. My feet are too steep. Yeah, I mean, we were just bouncing ideas, you know, because we had Mac Yak, and then during the sort of Mac Yak process, Dana and Jay and I were sort of thinking about how we could do a channel that would focus just on tech rather than only Mac tech, and obviously have a fairly Mac-centric look about it. I mean, any Mac-related stuff we would be talking about, but that it was going to be more just broader tech, which of course is the channel that we created called Startup Disk is Full. Now, we have had a little bit of a hiatus with that, but I do believe we're going to be getting back into it fairly soon. We made, I think, 5 or 6 of them. We did them as, I think we did one live, but the rest were essentially recorded live. So we just record them like it's a live show, but then we just cut them down a little bit, you know, particularly when I make mistakes, because I make a lot of mistakes. I get the giggles when we do those sorts of things. A couple of times it really got bad. And we did an episode on 3D printing. We did an episode on, I think, like security, digital security, backups, stuff like that. It was, you know, it was good fun, and I am really looking forward to getting back to it. We've got lots more ideas for the show, and it's basically us just discussing different aspects of technology, whatever it might be. It might be security, it might be whatever, remote controlled equipment, drones, you know, just tech stuff, man. Because we decided that YouTube didn't have enough tech channels out there. We had a few guests on. We did a Linux episode, and we had Sean from Action Retro as a guest on the show. He didn't do any of the homework we asked him to do, because he's too famous now. But it was thoroughly enjoyable. The outtakes are great. Thanks for that, Patrick. They're mainly my fault. Rotten Tomatoes crits are all shills. Yeah, I was interesting you say that, because there was one movie in particular that I saw that got a very good review, and I watched the movie and I was just like, I cannot understand how someone could give this film a good review. I mean, the acting was terrible. The main actor in it is just bad. The support actor just coasted through the movie like he knew the film was going to be bad, and so he barely even tried, and he's someone I know can act. And I just remember looking at it thinking, did you watch the same movie as me? Oh, thank you very much for saying we're funny, Patrick. I appreciate that. It would be nice to be invited. Well, it's an interesting thing that you say that, Steve, because you are meant to be a guest on our next program. that we talked about a long time ago, but then things got put on hold for various reasons. They're good reasons, but they did get put on hold. And we are going to do another. And Steve, let's call it an audition. But look, really what happened with that, it was the reason why it turned out the way it did was it started with a discussion that I had, I think, probably in a late night Zoom chat that I had with Dana and Jay. We don't do it as much as we used to, but we used to like just have these very lengthy Zoom chats. And we would just, it was with the Mac group, we would just sort of say, we're on the chat, anyone who can join. And there were a couple of times where I was just chatting to Dana and Jay, and we started talking about this idea of this tech channel, and we thought, let's give it a try. But we thought what we really need to do with this is we need to flesh it out, see how it goes. And one of the things that we actually wrote, and this was really something that we decided on because of some of the things that were going on with Mac Yak at the time. What we found is once you had more than a certain amount of people on those shows, it got kind of difficult to control. You'd have people talking over each other, a little bit noisy and stuff like that, and we were just concerned about that, whether it was sort of unpleasant to watch. So we made this decision that we would just try it out with three people, and then also try it out with four, and just see how we go with it. And so what we did is we did a few of those episodes with three people, and then we had a guest, and it still worked with four. So, you know, far too famous and expensive now. Fair enough. Yes, I know. Sean. I mean, Sean deserves every bloody sub he's got, because he does things in a way which is just about growing his channel. I mean, what he does is he is just doing everything right to grow his channel. And so, you know, you can't really be jealous or critical or anything like that, because it didn't happen by accident. One thing I am jealous of is the fact that he has a place that's big enough that he can actually set up a permanent studio. My house isn't big enough for a permanent studio. So, and when I want to do filming, I have to move furniture. Dear. Oh dear. Okay, let's take these guys off here. They're four all the same, so I'm just going to remove them all because I'm not going to get them muddled up or anything like that. F245s. Oh, Foxhound477, thank you for joining, and have a good night. I am going to be finishing fairly soon, just in case anyone is wondering. I think I'll probably finish at around about the 3.5 hour mark. We've got 23 minutes away from now. I'm very happy with the progress I've made. I would maybe like to be a little bit further along, but, you know, it's gone pretty well. I don't know if I will do another surface mount live stream. With these sorts of videos, I just worry that they just end up getting boring. I'll probably try and finish this off myself sometime without live streaming it, or I might just do a little Patreon exclusive or something like that where I do all the swear words and drink alcohol. And then the next official one will be probably the through-hole components. I haven't done a Patreon exclusive in a while, but I will. And they're basically ones that if you are one of my Patreon patrons, I announce them on my Patreon, and then I do a live stream, and they typically have me with my guard down, shall we say. Dropped the thing. It's my little... What? How do things just disappear on this floor? I hear them hit the floor and then they just disappear. It's like the Twilight Zone or something. Haven't even used up your first... Actually, that's a good point. I might swap now, because I'm past the 3-hour mark, and this is when they usually start freaking out. So, excuse me a minute while I just do the changeover. Bing. Testing, 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 1, 2, 3. Testing, 1, 2, 3. Yep, we're still here. Excellent. 3,000 stream per battery. I'll tell you, have a look at this one. I'll show you this under the camera. I think it might be time for a new battery for this one. What do you reckon? It's a bit puffy. Alright, let's clean these up. I can eat and drink what I want, if you're Orthodox, that is. I eat and drink what I want any day. That's why I'm so fat. Is it wine time? I'm fasting today for Greek Easter, so basically vegan yesterday, Good Friday, and vegetarian today. Yeah, I struggle with that. I would definitely struggle with that. I mentioned before I have a few Greek friends, but I don't know if they are Orthodox. I have nearly finished working on my latest development project, which is setting up an OAuth 2 server with using LDAP validations, and I have not enjoyed it. Well, I've enjoyed... I'm happy now that I've learned all this stuff, but it has not been a project I've really enjoyed that much. Make sure I'm not knocking any components off the thing. 40 days, that's crazy. Can't fast for 40 days. Well, I can't anyway. Someone might be able to, but not me. I'll be like, done with that. Yes, I would suggest that if you are going to stick a spicy battery into a fire, I would say stay well back, and that I would actually recommend that you don't do that. But if you are going to do that, be safe. One, two, three, 4. Your sound is a little lower with this mic. That's interesting to note. Interesting to note. It shouldn't be. It should be identical. Same hardware. There's no volume control on the actual transmitter. Receiver should be the same. Very curiosity. But what I can do is I can hit the gain a little bit. So we will do that. I'll just go here to that and go here to right click, filters, gain, and we go check, 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 check. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Okay, I've increased the gain a little bit on that. Let me know if it's clipping or sounds crappy or anything like that. Well, going to get going. Goodbye, everyone. Bye, Panopolis. Good, good. Okay, good, good, good. That is interesting to note that I have 2 transmitters outputting different volume. I might check the settings of these on using, because there's an app. There's an app and you can plug these in and check all the settings of them. And I might have changed something somewhere. These little transmitters actually have a little chip in them, and you can actually record just onto them without the receiver. So if you happen to be out and about and you're doing interviews or something like that, you can actually record the audio straight onto the transmitter, and then when you get back to the, to do the post work, you can then just download the digital audio file, which is quite nifty. And I wish I had taken these along when I filmed a friend's wedding. Because the audio is terrible, and if I'd have just given them one of these and used it as a backup for the audio, it would have been much, much better. But probably doesn't matter now because they're getting divorced. I don't think that wedding video is going to get watched much. Used my iPhone as a backup audio recorder has saved my butt multiple times. Yeah, look, it's a good idea. And this was the thing that I felt so annoyed with myself when I did this wedding video, was if I had just grabbed my phone and plonked it, just set it up with the audio recording software, and then plonked it next to the PA speaker, or the couple were using for the ceremony, I would have been able to just grab the sound off. It meant that I wouldn't have needed to have carried any additional equipment. I just had my camera, and then I would have just had the sound on the phone. I should have done that, but that was something I thought about afterwards. It's too late. But as I say, it's all kind of moot now anyway, because it didn't last. And I suspect neither of them probably ever want to watch that wedding video ever again. I was essentially just doing a favour. I wasn't doing it as a big full production thing. I was just like, yep, I'll bring a camera and I'll film it. And it was a hot day. A Sydney stinker. Nice. Okay, we got all those 4 on. That was 4 done nice and quickly. Yeah, very short marriage. I think it only lasts for 2 years, something like that. One might argue it probably should never have happened. One might argue that they probably should have just stayed together for a little bit longer before getting married. I won't say that. I'm going to just take this great big one off because I just feel like it. I just want to. This is, aside from the, this is the largest surface mount chip on the board. So I figured I'd do this one next. It doesn't mean it will take way longer to do or anything like that, but it'll probably take a little while to heat up. "15 years of marriage for this year. Well done. All it cost me was my sanity, totally worth it. I got married in 2011, so what does that make it? 13 years this year, I think? "2011 was quite an interesting year for me because we had lots of deaths in the family, a marriage, and a birth. My father died in 2011. Would have been nice if he could have made the wedding, but just didn't quite make it, unfortunately. Okay, how are we doing here? Nope, still got more heating. Heating. When I'm heating up like this, I just nudge them every now and again from the corner, just a gentle nudge, just to see if I can notice any movement. And there's still no movement. Hurry up. This would be a lot easier if I had one of those attachments that you put on the end of a hot air station that blows 4 shafts of air out in a square. But I do not have one of those attachments, so I cannot use it. I cannot use something I do not have. Forgot your wedding anniversary? How on earth? 34 years in June. Well done. 16, 15, yeah. I was someone who got married quite late in life. Just didn't find the right person until then. Beep, 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 beep. I always remember my anniversary. My wife tends to forget. Now, I know that my wife is very good with remembering dates, way better than I am. But I keep these sorts of things as reminders in a calendar so that I don't forget. Love it when a chip has dots on all 4 sides. Okay, it's this dot. This is the dot, not any of these other dots. Do you remember that time you got tricked by the dots, Jay? Jay was working on a Macintosh IIci, I think it was. And when he put a chip on, he got it around the wrong way because he matched the dot with the dot, but not realizing that the chip had 2 stupid dots. This is back in the days when Jay used to do live streams. We keep telling him he's got to start doing it again. But he doesn't listen to us. We have to push harder. These are nice wide pins on this one. We've got some that are really, really narrow. We've got some that are gigantic, like this one. I had yet another person jump onto my DIY ultrasonic cleaner video. I think it might have been the laundry tub one. It may have been another. I'm not sure. Maybe the other one. It's one or the other. Telling me that my ultrasonic cleaner won't work because the transducers will be out of sync, and so they'll cancel each other out. It's amazing how many people just keep posting that same incorrect comment. I love the fact that they have all these people telling me that this thing that I use doesn't work. That doesn't work. It's like, it does work. And what I ended up saying to this guy is I said, well, rather than just ignorantly saying it doesn't work, how about you put your scientist hat on and try and figure out why it does work. And I got no response to that, which is not surprising. Someone who basically doesn't understand how sound waves work. That's the main issue we have. Birthday's in less than a week. What? What? Doesn't give me enough time to send off the incredibly elaborate birthday gift that I got for you. Oh well. I'll save it for next year. I had actually planned to buy something for Jay for his birthday, but I probably made that plan when I had a little bit more money in the bank. 1,000 tiny solder balls. No, I don't remember. Oh dear. It's okay if it shows up no more than 1 week late. Okay. I had actually planned to get you a Qwertee Sonic pad, but now I'm worried that you wouldn't use it because you've become so anti 3D printer. Tried to get Jay. I mean, when Jay first got his 3D printer, you know, we were just talking 3D printers all the time, and he was printing like crazy, and then he went off it. He went off his 3D printing. Are you getting a surprise birthday party? It's a big number this time, isn't it, Jay? If I remember rightly, it's a round number. I've got a sneaking suspicion this birthday for you is a round number birthday. And does that mean you are going to have maybe a big surprise party planned for you? Yeah? I think it's one of those. Oh no, okay, so it was last year was the round number. Okay, fair enough. So the surprise party should have been last year. That's the surprise. The surprise is there's no party. Am I nearly finished? Am I nearly finished this chip? I'm getting very bored with this chip. There we go. That looks nice. They look nice. It's very nice. It's nice. It's nice. It's beautiful. It's nice. Okay. How are we doing? Oh, geez, I've hit my time where I said I was going to stop, so I better stop. So let's go in and change the view to the top view, and we will just have a bit of a retrospective of the work that has been done during this fairly long live stream. Right. Once again, a word about Styri. Don't forget, links in the description. StyriFlux, and there is a discount code in there as well. Right, I have done exactly 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 24, 25 ICs. That is not bad. I'm pretty happy with that. How many do I have left? Now, these two are on the way. They're likely to arrive in the post next week, I think Kai said. So, likely to get those two to put on there. So, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26. We're about halfway. We're about halfway. So, yeah. What's going on with these ones? Oh, they're the ROMs. Yeah, okay. No, SRAM, sorry. Full of stuff. Okay. So still definitely quite a few left here. Let's do another count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 22, 23, 24, 25. Yeah, more or less. Let's say we are about halfway. It's probably a little less than halfway because there's a lot more smaller chips here. We've only got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 7 PLCCs, and they're quite small. What was the chip that he was telling me that I was going to have to... He said something to do with the sound chip. There was going to be an issue with the sound chip. I think he made the pads too small. So these little sound chips, these are the sound chips here. You'll recognise these from the Macintosh Portable. They're on the 2SI, I think they're on the 2CI. They're on the Macintosh Classic. They're the only rectangular PLCC chip on any of the Macs. Callum, thank you for joining. And apparently these pads up in the corner here, they're too small. So I have to get a little bit creative with those. I think he said something about bending the pins underneath or something like that. So that's going to be fun to do. Now I'm still undecided as to whether I'm going to do another live stream with surface mount components. Got some up here as well. Or whether I am just going to do all these in my own time and then do the next live stream as through-hole. Please feel free to share your thoughts in the chat as to whether you would like me to do another surface mount one or just skip to the through-hole next time, just to speed it up. I don't know if you guys like just sitting here watching me blather on, or whether you would rather just see this thing finished. At least do the sound chip so we can see the pad misalignment. I'll do one. Look, let me at least just try one and see just how bad it is. Oh, crap. Just dropped my soldering iron. I've got to build something. I built a little stand for my soldering iron. It's great. except I need something for this to slot into on the top because it slides off too easily. Alright. I want to just see just how bad a problem this is. Here's one of the good things about this sound chip being used on so many computers, the fact that, you know, you can get this off donors. Oh yeah, look at the difference. Look at the difference in the size of these pads. Oh my goodness. I am probably going to have to get all sorts of creative with this. Yeah, it is actually, even if I go right to the edge there, it doesn't fit. So we're fine on that side, but this side it's a little bit kooky. So, what do we do here? This is where we have to start getting creative. So we'll just do one. This would be so much easier if the pads were in the wrong place on the outside rather than underside. I've got a pair of tweezers which is perfect for this. Let me grab those. GT's here. Hello there, GT. Wires versus bending. Yeah, but the wires are going to go underneath it. That's going to be an absolute nightmare. Can't even see what I'm doing. Gonna try not to break anything today. Okay. Is this going to give us enough length? Yeah, I'm mangling a sound chip. So basically, GT, I'll give you a quick little rehash of what's going on here. I am, I've got a two battery bomb 2FX boards, both supplied by Kai, and I have a 2FX reloaded board. So it is the sort of recreation of the 2FX. Now, when this was recreated, there was a version 1 board, and the version 1 board had a few problems which got resolved on the version 2. However, I don't have a version 2. This is the one I was sent. Kai sent me this one that he wants me to build for him. And he has a version 1 board with all these faults. And yeah, one of these faults is the fact that the pads for this particular chip don't actually line up with the pins on the chip. So I am having to get creative and make it so that I can get the pins to reach the pads, which are at the moment too far away from these pins. That's, you know, just another day at the office. I wasn't even going to do this today, but I really, you know, when Jay sort of did his normal peer pressure thing on me, where he says, yeah, just do it today, I actually started thinking, you know what, I really do want to know how easy or difficult this is going to be. So it didn't take a lot of arm twisting to get me to do it. Alright. Let's see. Yep, that'll reach. Not much, but it'll reach. So let's give it a whirl. I'm going to do this with hot air rather than solder because I think it'd be too bloody hard to do any other way. Mangling. Such a mean word, mangling. How dare you? How dare you? Now, I'm definitely going to have to wrap it up. I mean, apart from everything else, I am freaking hungry. Haven't eaten in quite some time. I need my sustenance because I'm fat. Alright, hot air, I said. I can't see if I'm lining up underneath, so I'm going to have to just have a look, and then if I am, I will push it down. Microscope. Yeah, that looks lined up. Cool. So, let's hit it with a big Rossmann of flux. What have I done? One of my eyepieces here is really blurry. I bumped it, that's why. Alright. Why is the camera crooked? I've had a crooked camera all day. Fume extractor, please. Yep, sorry. It's going, it's just pointing in the wrong direction. How is it? Well, I mean, I think the one way to be perfectly sure with this is to ping it out with the multimeter, but I'll save us from that now. But I'm feeling at this stage like I think we're good. Certainly on the other side that I looked at, it looked alright. Yeah, it looks like it's soldered on. As long as we haven't got any bridges or anything like that, I think we're fine. And I think that will be how I will do the other one as well. You would never know. Never know. I'll just check for bridges very quickly. Get out the multimeter. Yes, see how many Rossmans I use per stream. Look, I'll tell you what, I am nearly through an entire tube, and that was close to full when I started on this board, whenever it was in the last live stream. And I don't know exactly how close to full, but it was close to full. Nope. Whoops. I'm at a terrible angle here. And now they are making contact, but they might be meant to be making contact. Yes, they are. Yeah. Yep, okay. So I don't think we've got any bridges. It's just a question of whether they have actually lined up. And for that, I'll have to check the schematic. I'm not going to worry about doing that now. I guess what we know is that it can be done. That was everything that was described to me about the problems with this board when I spoke to Bowl was pretty much everything was just like a little wire here and a little wire there. But when he told me about the sound chip, I thought that sounds a little bit more substantial, but that really wasn't too bad at all. So I'm not particularly fussed. So feeling pretty good about that. So now my apologies to Jay that I'm not going to just keep going and going and going. But as I said before, I have been going now for over 3.5 hours, and I am on the hungry side, and I have things to do, chores, house to clean, all that sort of stuff. But look, I managed to bring the microphone down, so we had a nice smooth transition from one microphone to the next, so it worked out well. Okay. It's audio, you can debug it later. Well, except that I believe the reset goes through one of these sound chips. So I think if you don't get the sound chip on right, you end up with it stuck on reset or something like that. Something along those lines. Yeah. So, I'm going to do my normal thing and say thank you to everyone for joining me today. I do hope you've enjoyed this. I hope this isn't getting like too tedious and boring, and we talked about some exciting stuff today. We, basically solved how Disney can resolve all their problems with making crap movies. I have enjoyed doing this. I've enjoyed having the company while I do it. I do actually quite like this sort of work. It's a nice way to spend the time. I probably said so about, I don't know, maybe 400, 500 times. So if you have been playing the When Bruce Says So drinking game, I'd be going and checking yourself for alcohol poisoning. So thank you to everyone. Thanks for the super chats. I got a lot of super chats from I Love Scotch today, so thank you for that. I really appreciate it. Anyone else who super chatted as well, I can't remember just off the top of my head. And I hope you will join me at the next one. Probably try and do it next weekend as well. And we'll see if we can, get a little bit closer to completion for this one. So I will say a big old thanks again. Hope to see you at the next one, and bye-bye.